Okay, let's unpack this. So today, we're really diving deep into what makes a salesperson truly successful. Looking at the shift, going from maybe being a sales rookie, relying on a bit of charm, maybe some luck, to becoming a real pro, someone who runs on discipline, solid strategy, and, well, habits. The material we've got is this really comprehensive training plan, and it uses a lot of examples from the facility solutions world, janitorial supplies, that sort of thing.
Yeah, in that industry context, it's actually surprisingly perfect because look, if you can strategically sell something people see as basic, like janitorial stuff,
Yeah.
then those habits, those strategies, they work anywhere. They're universal, and the training guide hits it hard. Sales is like 80% mental. It just is. You're dealing with rejection constantly. The hours can be long, which is why the core idea here, the big challenge, is accepting that success isn't some flash in the pan based on motivation. It's really a marathon. It's built on consistency, honestly. Kind of boring consistency sometimes.
That really jumped out at me too. That it's not about some grand 5-year vision initially. It's laser focused on the first 90 days. Like that
Yeah.
period kind of sets the stage for everything else.
Oh, absolutely. The whole point, the goal, according to this method, is to shift from hoping for deals to actually generating predictable results. It's about installing habits in those first 3 months. Habits that reliably turn your effort into outcomes you can measure, regardless of whether you feel motivated that day or not.
Okay, so if that's the goal, where do we start? What's the foundational piece? The first thing a rookie needs to maybe unlearn.
Right. It's that fundamental mind shift. You have to stop pitching products. Just stop. Customers, ultimately, they don't buy your product. They buy the outcome your product gives them. See, rookies talk features, specs, but the decision makers. They care about their budget, hitting their KPIs, their own goals.
That's why the janitorial example works so well, isn't it? The customer doesn't really care about, I don't know, the paper towels ply count.
Exactly, or how fancy the soap dispenser looks. What they do care about is, say, cutting down on janitor overtime. If your dispenser runs out all the time, the janitor's changing roles every hour instead of cleaning. That's a real labor cost, a measurable one. That's the pain.
Ah, so the pro immediately jumps past the features to that quantifiable pain point.
Yes. Step one, you gotta see the world through their eyes. Research their specific pain points. Is it a school juggling tight budgets and hygiene standards? Understand that. Then, step two, translate your product feature into a concrete dollars and cents outcome. Don't just say high capacity roles. You need to actually do the math for them. Show them.
Okay, walk us through that calculation. How does a paper roll suddenly become like a profit driver?
The pro would say something like, look, these high capacity roles, they'll cut your weekly changeouts from, say, 10 down to 5. That saves your team 5 hours of labor. At what, $20 an hour? That's $100 saved every single week. See? When you frame it like that, you're not just selling paper anymore. Suddenly you're a business partner. You're selling them time, actual savings, maybe even just peace of mind.
Okay, that's a huge shift. So moving from that mindset piece to the actual doing part,
Mm-hmm.
we hit this core truth in the training. Discipline beats motivation every time.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit harsh, maybe, but it feels real. The path to success in sales before it gets exciting and lucrative, well, it looks pretty boring from the outside.
That boring part, that's the grind. And yeah, it's completely non-negotiable in this system. It demands consistent, high-volume activity. And I love this part. It gives you hard numbers, actual targets. It says a successful rep needs to log 125 or more touches every week. Calls, emails, LinkedIn messages, the works. And out of that volume, the aim is to set 5 or more meetings weekly.
Wow, 125 touches for 5 meetings. That ratio itself tells a story, doesn't it? It separates the pros from the folks just hoping. There was that anecdote in the material, Mike versus Sarah. Sarah kind of let follow-up slide when she wasn't feeling it, and her pipeline just dried up. But
Yeah.
Mike, he stuck to that 125-touch plan religiously, week in, week out, and boom, 3 big deals closed in 90 days. It really shows that consistent effort creates the opportunities, not waiting for inspiration.
Exactly. And you can't maintain that kind of consistency without rigid time management. The training's really specific about calendar strategy. You have to block out your mornings. That first 90 minutes, when your brain's hopefully at its sharpest, that's for focused outreach, pure prospecting. That time block is sacred, non-negotiable.
Okay, sacred prospecting time, got it. And it's not just random outreach, right? There's a system, a cadence.
Yes, a repeatable sequence. The advice is something like 8 to 10 touches spread over about 3 weeks. And here's the critical bit. You must persist past touch 5.
Because most people give up before then.
Totally. The amateur sends 2, maybe 3 emails, gets silence, and moves on. The pro knows the data. Most replies, especially from busy execs, they often start coming in around the fifth, sixth, maybe even seventh contact attempt. So persistence isn't being annoying. It's actually necessary just to get noticed.
Okay, but keeping track of 125 touches, multiple cadences.
Yes, Dad.
You can't do that on sticky notes. That brings us to the CRM, right? The operational backbone.
Oh, absolutely essential. The mantra here has to be drilled in. If it's not on the CRM, it didn't happen. Period. Your CRM is everything. It's your memory, it keeps you honest, it's your scoreboard. You log 100% of your interactions. And crucially, for every single deal in your pipeline, you must set a clear next step. What's the next action? When is it due? No deal should ever just sit there without a future date attached. That's how you stop things falling through the cracks.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's link that daily discipline, the CRM logging, back to building credibility. Hitting 125 touches is one thing, but how does the pro make sure those touches aren't just, noise? How do they actually add value?
Right, because value is what builds trust. And trust, that's the real currency in sales. So every single touch point, every call, email, LinkedIn message has to offer something useful, an idea, a relevant statistic, a clear next step. Just sending a generic, hey, just checking in, email, that's basically a wasted touch, a tactical failure.
Like that example of Lisa, right? She got the meeting because she'd actually looked at the client's recent sustainability report. And instead of just asking for time, she shared a specific waste reduction tip relevant to them.
Exactly. She was memorable because she was useful. And that usefulness feeds directly into professionalism. Being professional makes the salesperson the safe choice for the buyer. Especially in areas like supply chains, buyers crave reliability. They need to know you won't mess up. And it's often the small habits that signal that reliability.
Okay, what are some of those small, maybe overlooked habits that signal serious professionalism?
Well, it's often the simple stuff that people, frankly, get lazy about, like dressing just one step more professionally than your client. Proofreading every single email seriously, typos just scream rushed or sloppy. Sending a detailed meeting recap within 24 hours. Arriving not just on time, but early, already armed with ROI calculations tailored to their specific challenges you uncovered. None of this costs money, but it buys enormous amounts of trust.
Okay, but deals still fall apart, right? Mistakes happen. So how does the pro handle the learning curve? How do they make sure mistakes are tuition paid, not just repeated failures?
They embrace the idea that sales is basically a classroom, always. Pros learn fast because they actively review their calls. They seek feedback, maybe weekly, and crucially, they don't get defensive about it. And this is key. They keep a lessons log. If you lose a deal or make a mistake, if you paid tuition, you write down exactly what you learned. The goal is to guarantee you don't make that same costly mistake again next week or next month.
Right, learn and adapt. So shifting gears a bit from the daily habits to more high-level strategy. It's not just about working hard, but working smart. The training uses a really strong analogy here.
Ah, the doctor analogy. Yeah, it's perfect. Doctors diagnose before prescribing. So should salespeople. See, the rookie jumps straight to pitching their solution. You need our new dispenser.
Yeah.
But the great rep, they spend serious time diagnosing the problem first. They quantify the pain so clearly, so undeniably, that their solution becomes the obvious, almost irresistible answer.
You can't just guess the pain. You mentioned quantifying. You have to actually nail down the numbers, right?
Oh, absolutely. The diagnosis phase is all about quantification. Ask specific, targeted questions. Things like, okay, on average, how many hours do your restocking tasks take each week? Get the raw data from them. Then you confirm the cost implication back to them using their own figures. So let me make sure I understand. If your team spends, say, 40 hours a month just on restocking at your labor rate, that's costing you roughly $800 a month. Once the client nods and agrees to the cost of their problem, honestly, you've often closed the deal internally right there. The rest is detail.
Wow. That quantified pain makes the solution much easier to sell. And that approach probably relies heavily on targeting the right people in the first place.
Definitely. This is where sharp aim, as the guide calls it, really separates the average reps from the elite ones. You need clearly defined, ideal customer profiles, ICPs. You just can't sell effectively to everyone. So, in this facilities world example, maybe you focus tightly on education or food service or maybe building service contractors, only those with 50-plus locations. Be specific. Then, once you've targeted the right company, you have to tailor your message to the specific person you're talking to, the buyer persona.
Right, because the person managing facilities for a school district cares about different things than, say, the procurement manager for a giant corporate HQ.
Totally different worlds. You need like 3 distinct flavors of messaging ready to go. Got a cost cutter, they only want to hear about savings. Pure numbers. An efficiency seeker, they care about speed, ease of use, making things run smoother. A risk manager, they're focused on compliance, reliability, avoiding disruptions or problems. If you try a one-size-fits-all message, it'll probably fail with all three of them.
That makes perfect sense. And naturally, that leads into the proposal stage. If you've done that diagnosis and tailoring right, the proposal shouldn't really hold any surprises.
Exactly. A winning proposal isn't a product brochure. It tells a money story. It needs clear, simple ROI calculations showing the labor savings plus any product savings, and it absolutely must tie directly back to those specific pain points you quantified during discovery. Really, the proposal should just be the formal documentation of the value agreement you've already built.
Okay, but even with a great money story, you're going to hit objections, especially on price. How does the pro handle the classic, it's too expensive?
Yeah, that's inevitable. The key is, don't panic. Don't see it as rejection. Reframe it in your head as a buying signal they're engaged enough to push back. First, you have to acknowledge their concern, show you respect their budget constraints. Okay, I understand price is a factor here. But then immediately pivot back to the value you both agreed on earlier. But let's revisit that $1,000 a month in operational savings we identified. If we focus on that return, does the initial investment start to look worthwhile in that context? You anchor the discussion back to the benefit they gain, not just the upfront cost.
That's a powerful reframe. Okay, so zooming out now. What does all this mean for the long haul? You get the first deal, great. What's next? How did this framework apply over time?
Yeah, that's critical. The first order, that's just the beginning, not the win. Real success, the pro knows, comes from expansion and retention, growing that account. So pros actively map out all the key decision makers and influencers within that client's organization, who else should know about this success, and they schedule regular quarterly business reviews, QBRs. But these aren't just check-ins. They focus explicitly on updating the ROI. Here's how much you've saved so far. And you constantly bring new ideas, new ways to help them. You have to stay valuable long after that initial sale buzz wears off.
And part of that long-term discipline, maybe counterintuitively, is knowing when not to pursue something, knowing when to walk away. That must be hard, especially when you need to hit targets.
It is hard, especially early on. But chasing bad deals, the ones where there's clearly no budget, it's a terrible fit for what you offer, or the buyer's just completely disengaged that actually costs you more. It burns your time, your energy, your resources, which you could have spent on promising opportunities. So discipline also means having the guts to strategically disqualify those poor fits early. Saying no to bad deals frees you up to say yes to the great ones.
Okay, so let's bring it back full circle to the mental game. We know deals will fall through even when you do everything right. What's the pros' strategy for resilience? How do they bounce back?
Resilience is non-negotiable because, yeah, you simply cannot control every outcome. Stuff happens. The key is maintaining a level of detachment from the result itself. Don't tie your self-worth to closing every single deal. Use routines, could be exercise, journaling, talking it through to consciously reset after a loss. The aim is to bounce back emotionally within, say, 24 hours. And here's a practical tip. Instead of only tracking closed deals which you don't fully control, track your activity metrics diligently. Those 125 touches, the meeting set. Celebrate hitting those effort goals because that is what you truly control day to day. It keeps your focus on process, not just outcome.
That's really sound advice. Okay, so to kind of boil down this whole transformation from rookie to pro, the core philosophy seems to rest on maybe three main pillars. First, that constant reminder. Customers buy outcomes and solutions, not just products or features.
Yep. Second, the engine driving it all is that relentless commitment to the grind. Discipline beats motivation, always. Consistency is king.
And third, the operational bedrock. Your CRM is your non-negotiable tool. It's your memory, your scoreboard. If it's not logged, for all practical purposes, it didn't happen.
Absolutely. And maybe overarching all of that is the idea of continuous learning. The source material says it bluntly. If you stop learning, you stop earning. The very best reps. They see themselves as students first, sellers second, always studying trends, practicing their skills, seeking out mentorship. Look, the blueprint is here. It's laid out. Execution is what separates those who succeed from those who don't.
So it sounds like if you really treat sales as a true profession, it has the potential to reward you like one. Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you today. If these first 90 days truly set the trajectory for your entire sales career, what is the one non-negotiable habit from this plan? Maybe it's that sacred 90-minute prospecting block. Maybe it's the 100% CRM logging. Perhaps it's ensuring every touch adds value.
What's the one habit you will install, starting today, to guarantee your future results?